Hello, sixth grade. Today we're going to go into some more details about the five pillars of Islam. So, what you want to do with your notebook is kind of follow along. I'm going to give you a little bit more in depth look at each of these five rules for the religion. It's a little bit more extensive than what we talked about the other day when we read through the comic strip. There's a few similarities to kind of start with the basics. So, I wanted to start with this picture that you all see of a Muslim mosque, which is similar to a church. And if you notice, there are literally five what are known as minarets or towers or columns or even pillars themselves. And I want to draw to your attention that this is similar to Christianity, how we have a cross on the outside of a church. A lot of mosques have five of something to remind everybody of the five pillars of Islam. So we're using this image as kind of just like a mental starting point for where this is going to go. Okay, some of these pillars have a little bit more information than others. And even further, like pillar number five, there's going to be a video that we're not going to watch today, but that's going to be in addition to everything we talk about now. So, again, in your notebook, let's add some more information to each of these pillars, some of the details that go with them, so that we have pretty much all we need to know about each of the rules. Okay, so this is all related to pillar one. I'm going to move myself here. Pillar one in the cartoon, if you remember in the comic strip, the boy was talking about how he pretty much had what is similar to a confirmation ceremony, and that is still true. The quote here is the exact same quote that the boy said he had to state or that he had to say. So, pillar one is known as the profession of faith. So, you're basically professing that you want to join the religion, just like confirmation for Christianity. So the quote here that says, "There is no other God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger," pretty much means this. They're saying that to them, there is no other God but their God, also known as Allah, and that Muhammad, who is their best known prophet, is the messenger. So if we had a quote like this for Christianity, it would be pretty much like there is no God but the Christian God, and Jesus was his son, or Jesus was his messenger. So that again, there's the two parts. There's the actual quote, like the actual profession of the faith, and there's the ceremony that the kid was talking about in the cartoon. Okay, so there's a few things here that go with this that were not from the picture. One of them is this image. This image is actually Arabic for this exact same quote up here. And to give you kind of a few insights that go along with this pillar one, I have these two yellow and the one green sentences going on the side. So let's just walk through them. The very first thing you need to know here is that Muhammad is not the name of their God. Okay, the name of their God is Allah, which is Allahh. So you're going to see that a couple of times throughout this unit. So they don't view Muhammad as like the God that they worship. Okay, nor was he similar to a Jesus type character of any sorts. He is not the son of God. He is not anything to that effect. What he is for Muslims is he is a prophet, and to them, he was like the best prophet, the best messenger of God, and the last messenger of God. Okay, they feel like there have been several prophets in their history and even before the history of Islam. But in this case, they're just saying again that Muhammad is not God. He's not the son of God, but he is the best messenger that they have. Okay. Muhammad is also kind of known as a teacher. He was just there as the middleman to give everybody God's word, similar to a Moses type person, where he's not wanting to be worshiped. He's not wanting to be seen as God or anything. He's just telling everybody what God wants them to know. So he's known as a teacher of others. And we've seen this type of thing before when we talked about the two Christian churches. So the Eastern Orthodox Church in Christianity is not big on icons or statues or images of Jesus or Mary or God because they feel like it's disrespectful. You don't really know what these individuals look like. They didn't have cameras back then in the time of Jesus and Mary. So they feel like it's a little bit disrespectful. And that is the same thing with Islam. That's why a lot of the artwork and a lot of the calligraphy and the fancy writing, even we're going to do some later on in this unit, they're meant as and kind of a respectful way to honor God as opposed to making a statue or some kind of an image. So it says pictures of God and Muhammad are forbidden. We've just described why. So they're forbidden because they feel like it's disrespectful. And similar to part of the Christian church, they feel like people get more hung up on worshiping the statue or the picture and not really who it's supposed to represent. Okay. There is one more thing that goes with pillar one, and it is mentioning their book. Their holy book is known as the Quran. It's spelled two different ways. You'll see it two different ways. So it's the Qur apostrophe and it looks like Quran. And then you have Quran or Quran, however you want to pronounce. But they basically are the same thing. They are referring to the book of Islam. I have a picture of one kind of zoomed in here so you can see it's in Arabic, and has all kinds of different writings and different sayings and similar to a Bible. We're going to talk about this later when we talk about the comparisons between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But the Quran actually is not connected to the Bible in any way. So it's its own separate book. That's going to be, again, important for later because Jewish people do use kind of part of what we know as the Bible, the Old Testament. But Islamic people do not have a book that is in any way related to the Quran. So the Quran is its own independent book for Islam. Okay, talking about number two here, real quick. If you remember in the cartoon, the boy mentions that his dad prays 5 times a day at specific times of day, and that's still going along with Pillar 2. So if you remember the cartoon, there are very specific set times of day. There's a little bit more with this picture in this sentence here, details going on with what was said in the cartoon. So we're just going to go through this one really fast. The expectation of Pillar 2 is to pray 5 times a day. Those times are set specifically, and as you see in the picture, when Muslims pray, they pretty much get down on their knees and then bend all the way forward and put their head on the ground. They put their forehead pretty much to the ground when they pray as a sign of respect to God. Another stipulation is that they have to face towards the city of Mecca, which is in the country of Saudi Arabia. You might remember the boy in the cartoon or in the comic strip talking about Mecca, and that's where they go on the Hajj. And this is true. Mecca is seen as the holiest city in all of Islam, so they're supposed to not only pray 5 times a day at specific times, but they're supposed to be wherever they're at in the world facing towards Mecca. As an example, anywhere in the United States where you'd be, whether it be in California or in New York or Florida, you would face east because that is the direction that Mecca is closest to for the United States. This picture is unique because it's actually a little mosque in Mecca. So it's really packed, and there's a lot of people that are facing towards the center of town. So their heads are coming towards the picture. So they're outside the mosque, but they're facing towards the middle of town, and that's why there's so many of them. So that pretty much knocks out Pillar 2, which is obviously the prayer 5 times a day in a specific way, in a specific direction. Okay, so that's Pillar 2. Pillar 3 and 4 I put together to talk about. Pillar 3 from the cartoon, if you guys remember, is just about giving charity, whether that be food or money to the less fortunate. So there is no really specific detail about Pillar 3 other than the fact that it is expected that you give charity in some way. Pillar 4, we did mention the other day in the cartoon where the kid is talking about his dad fasting during the month of Ramadan. And we did cover that pretty well, but I'll just remind you all that fasting is giving up food, and in this case, food and drink, and a lot of other things, including crazy stuff, like can't chew gum and do different things like that. But fasting does not happen all year, every year for Muslims. It is only during that specific holy month of Ramadan. There are age restrictions too, so like babies and young kids don't do it. Older people or people who are ill do not do it. So there are some age restrictions or limitations because they don't want people getting sick or feeling ill because they don't have enough food. But if you are healthy enough to take part in it, the expectation is that you do not eat or drink during sunup to sundown. The image that I have down here is some people in the evening having a meal together. But as you can see, they're eating very light portions, and they're all just kind of eating some rice and a few different things. Because again, they can eat in the morning and the evenings, but it's not like they have a big old buffet style meal every night or like a Thanksgiving every night. You can see they're all together at the table with smaller portions just for everybody to share and everybody to eat, and it's really not that much. Okay, so that is pretty much charity and fasting in a quick version. Pillar 5 actually has a lot to say about it, and as you all can tell, there's even a video here that I have that goes with something we're going to do here in the next couple of days. Pillar 5, as it was mentioned in the comic strip, is actually a journey. So the Hajj is literally a pilgrimage, a trip, but it's not just like a vacation. You don't just go whenever you want and do whatever you want to do. You actually have to go during a specific time of the year, and you have to have pretty much a specific set of things that you're going to accomplish while you're there. So you have to visit several holy sites, you have to do several holy rituals, you have to pray certain prayers. So there's a lot involved with the Hajj. And as it says here, the expectation is that once in their life, Muslims must make the journey to Mecca. um, I don't want to get really into the hypotheticals, talking about like what if you don't go or what if you can't afford it or anything, because the belief is that you will go, and if you don't, I really don't, want to. I don't want to tell you all that there's any kind of like punishment or anything, because it's not necessarily the truth. The reality is, much like Christians and church, the expectation is that you go to mass, but not everybody does, and whether you're going to get in trouble for that, who really knows? But in the Hajj, it's the same deal. If somebody's not able to go, it's just kind of up to them if whether they want to go or not. So anyway, to get into what this picture is, I don't want to say again too much because you'll see that when we do the video here in the next couple of days. But this box is actually inside of a bigger mosque, which is a very, very like stadium size large mosque in Saudi Arabia. And this box is just pretty much a stone building that is draped in a black cloth. And that stone building is just like a really, really old building, really, really old, what a lot of people in their religion consider to be one of their earliest churches. So it's almost like a really old church that they built an even bigger, even newer church around to protect it. And it's usually covered in this black and gold cloth as kind of decoration. There's nothing inside of it as far as like a tomb or like a grave of anybody. So it's not like the tomb of Muhammad or anything of that nature, but it is just a really, really holy and respected building. Um, just real quick, I have one more picture that is zoomed out of that same area. So you can just see every one of these little heads, every one of these little bodies is a person who is inside this mosque. The black box, again, which is known as the Kaaba, is down in here now. So you can kind of see how big this church is. It's almost like an outdoor stadium. It's really big, and there's all these people that are praying together at the same time. And the three domes here are just another part of the mosque. So you can see that this is during Ramadan where it would be very busy and very packed, and this is just more of a zoomed out version of the previous picture here. Okay, so again, if I go back to the very beginning, as far as what you guys have for notes now, we have a little bit more detail on the 5 pillars. We've added a little bit more, hopefully, to what we thought we discovered the other day with the comic strip. Over the next couple days, we're going to focus a little bit on the Hajj again because that's pretty specific as far as one of the major things that a Muslim has to do in their life. So it's kind of neat to see somebody go do it. The video is of a guy who works for Vice Media, which is actually a television station, and they produce movies as well. So it's kind of neat to see him go with his parents on their Hajj, and he just kind of films the different things that they have to do. So it's pretty neat to just see that. And then also within the next couple of days, we're going to start getting into how Islam, as far as their practices and their beliefs, compares to Christianity and Judaism. So we're going to talk about a lot of things that they have in common and obviously some things that they disagree upon. So that again is also pretty interesting. Okay, so for today, if you've added what we need to add here to the notes, There is no official assignment as far as a worksheet or anything I want you all to submit. Um, it would be great if everybody made sure that they actually wrote these things down and didn't just watch the video, because later on when we do things like review or talk about the test or talk about other parts of this unit, I want you to have them in front of you so you can go back and reference them and not try to have to remember all the things that we talked about here today. Okay. So again, as always, I hope you all are doing well out there and staying safe, and we hope to talk to you real soon. All right. See you.